Hey guys, Alex from Board Game Co over here, and today we're doing another Kickstarter roundup. Now, first and foremost, while this Kickstarter did just end, I think it's obligatory at this point to mention that Frosthaven just ended maybe an hour or so ago, although by the time you see this video it'll be a day or two, but Frosthaven just broke the record that was previously held by Kingdom Death Monster and is now the #1 funded board game of all time, and if I'm not mistaken, the #3 Kickstarter of all time, although I might be wrong with that one. But it just broke the previous record of Kingdom Death Monster at roughly 12.3, 12.4 million, and Frosthaven came in just shy of 13 million, which is absolutely insane. Congratulations to Cephalair Games. Congratulations to Isaac Childress. This is really, it's absolutely incredible. This is just one more record that the Gloomhaven slash Frosthaven franchise is beating, and go ahead and try to get on in it if you want to. Go ahead and get it. I put a video link up here. I will say something about being the #1 most funded of all time. I even wanted to go in on it. Now, if you watched my previous video, I said I'm not actually going in on this one, and I still didn't, but it's a good price, it's a decent deal, but I'm not actually in a rush to play it. I still have Gloomhaven, and I didn't think it was an amazing deal. I think you'll be able to get it just as cheaply later. But that aspect of the most funded Kickstarter, I kind of wanted to change my mind, to be part of history, but that's irrational. It's an emotional thing, and I try not to be. In any case, on from there, I have a slight update to two Kickstarters I mentioned previously. First of all, for GPS, Sequoia, and Mountain Goats, I put this in the notes in my last video, but in my last Kickstarter roundup where I talked about this, I said I wasn't backing it. In the end of the day, I did change my mind, and I did back this one at the end. In the last video, I said I think it's a good buy. I just wasn't that particularly interested myself, and I was in no rush. But my kids have been enjoying Can't Stop a lot lately, and this very much falls in that genre, so I figured I'll give it a shot. It's not super expensive. It's like $50 for the whole set. I grabbed them all, and just wanted to let you know, because if I ever say I'm not backing something and I change my mind, I'd rather let you know, just in case, transparency or whatnot. Next up, we have another one that I'll be talking about again, which is Blacklist Miniatures. This is another one, and in general, by the way, from here on in, this list is ordered in terms of what's ending soonest. So Blacklist Miniatures currently has 3 days to go. By the time you're watching this video, it'll be down to 2 or 1 days left to go, and I am very heavily leaning in on actually getting this. They started off very, very rocky with this Kickstarter. The first day was I mean, I like Blacklist games a lot, and it was sad to watch the Kickstarter barely hobble along, but they went from hobbling along day one to this $400,000 already. It's one of those things, the way Kickstarter has evolved is that there's so much pre-launch buzz, there's so much hype before the fact, there's so much mailing lists and first day backs and everything, that a solid start is often the question of whether a project is going to make it or whether it's the death knell of that project. To see a project barely limping along toward its funding goal on the first day is usually not a good sign. But I don't know what or happened, I don't know how, I don't know why, but this one very much turned around, and part of why I'm considering going in on it is, first of all, we're at the point now where there are 170 minis and more still being unlocked for 178 minis currently for $65. That's 3 minis for $1, and it's still going higher. Now, you do have to factor in shipping, but I figure with the additional stretch goals plus the shipping cost, it's probably settling in somewhere around 3 minis for $1. Now, specifically talking about Frosthaven and Gloomhaven, I'm eyeing this to kind of debate whether I'll get this and use this as my excuse to put miniatures in Gloomhaven. I don't actually play Gloomhaven with the miniatures, I play them with the standees. I've always wanted something more, and I haven't really looked around. I don't know how well they pair up or match up or whatnot, but honestly, I'm less fuzzy. I'm less fussy about it. If they have skeletons, I know these guys have skeletons. You have generic orc warriors, whatever. There's a lot of stuff I can sub in here, so I'm debating getting it for that. This will be a new thing for me because I have yet to back a miniature-based Kickstarter, and that's also why I have no real opinion on the value proposition. It's not something I look into a lot. The only real comparable thing that I'm aware of is Reaper miniatures. There are a bunch of other people and companies that do this. It's just not an area I usually dive into, so I just don't know a lot about. Next up, we have Defense of Procyon III by David Tursi. Now, this one I talked about briefly in my last video. I will sadly not be backing it. Talking about funding goals was just mentioned. At the end of the day, this one's coming in at 66,000 so far with 9 days to go out of 50,000 goal. It doesn't look like it's building up that momentum. It doesn't look like it's building up that steam. And sadly, those things are a factor. Those things Don't get me wrong, once in a while you'll have that exception that's an incredible game, an amazing game, and the Kickstarter comes with extras that are essential, and now there's only a few copies in existence, and it's very, like Blood Rage, the first edition of the Blood Rage Kickstarter was an example of that. Sometimes you have those unicorns that are low funding, incredibly popular, and that really adds to the value after the fact. In this case, I just don't see it. It's possible, I wish them all the best, I do want to try it out, but from a value proposition, this is looking very much like a Galaxy Defender situation, a $100 Kickstarter that will sell in the aftermarket for $50, $60 used. So I just don't care enough about what I'm seeing here. There's enough questions on the actual gameplay. There's enough questions on the content ratio for what you're getting, on whether it's worth jumping in on this Kickstarter, that I'm not commenting on whether the game's going to be good at all. That is not what I'm commenting on. I'm commenting purely on the $100 plus shipping cost for what you're getting, and I don't think it's worth it, unfortunately. I think this will be available cheaper. I think you'll be able to get it on the aftermarket cheaper. If it goes to retail, I think it'll be cheaper. I could be wrong. Listen, part of this is all an opinion at the end of the day. I make educated guesses based on what I do know, based on what I have seen, based on both my experience as a consumer as well as my experience as a retailer. So I do have, in my opinion, I do have more information or more of a valid opinion than, I guess, the average person in this context, but that does not mean I'm wrong. I mean, that does not mean I'm right by any shot. It's still a guessing game, but my guess is this is not worth it, unfortunately. Next up, we have the Hunters. The Hunters is a second printing and expansions for a very interesting looking game. This is currently rated an 8.8 on Board Game Geek, but take that with a big grain of salt because it doesn't have a lot of ratings, which means a handful of good ratings could be shooting it through the roof. This is one that I probably am passing on myself, but I am very tempted by. The high rating is, again, while I would imagine it's inflated to a degree, the high rating is still a good indicator that people are enjoying this so far from those that have experienced it. The last Kickstarter just hit. People seem to be liking it from what they see. You'll probably see that rating drop over time, but it's still a good start. The miniatures, let me scroll down to the miniatures. The miniatures I absolutely love. I tend to like, this is very reminiscent of Lords of Hellas in terms of combining aspects of like nature combined with aspects of tech. It has that like if you put this monkey in Lords of Hellas, I would totally believe that was part of that universe. There's many of these guys. They have this cyber / non-cyber thing going on that really works well. I like the miniature style. I like the visual appeal. I like the game. They have some really cool dice down here. Let me scroll down. Here we go. They have some really cool dice that if they look anything like this would be very cool, although they have little heads on there, so I don't know how well the balance is, but either way, cool dice. It is one that I probably will be backing just because I don't see enough. I will probably not be backing because I don't see enough here to really pull me in the glut of games out there that, especially this year. This year's going to be a very tough year. A lot of things will be coming out. A lot of things have come out. It's going to be a very expensive year for those of us who are, addicted to Kickstarter. And I'm not seeing enough to pull me in here. As far as the value proposition, don't get me wrong, I am very interested. I have to pick and choose, and at a certain point, things have to be cut out. It's just, there's a limit to how many games I can play. There's a limit to how many boxes I can have show up at my door and expect to actually get them to the table. As far as the return on it, as far as whether it's a good buy, I think it's probably a safe buy. Again, educated guesses here. That's all it is. But I think it's probably a safe buy. The combination of the few people, it's decently funded, but not amazingly funded. So the combination of not having a ton of people funding it, backing it or whatnot, as well as with the fact that the game is currently well rated, means this is likely to hold its value. You'll have a bunch of people who want it after the fact who can't get their hands on it, and you'll have a few people willing to let it go. The market will not be flooded with this, and there's enough people who like it that it is therefore probably a safe buy. So take that for what it's worth. This is, by the way, it is possible I'll be changing my mind in this one. There's still a few things I want to look into in this. It's very possible I'll be changing my mind. I just don't anticipate doing another of these videos before the next 9 days. So as of right now, I am passing. If I change my mind, I will update you in the next Kickstarter roundup. From there, we have Resident Evil, which is almost the reverse of the last one. As opposed to a small, well-loved game, this is a fairly decently funded game from a publisher that is not loved. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you know I tend to defend Come Games a lot. Keep in mind, it doesn't mean I agree with them. It just means I think that the hate is overkill for what they do. Steamforged Games, again, I'm not judging anyone. I'm not I'm not here to label anyone or judge anyone, but Steamforge Games does have a very poor track record on the deliveries of their projects. Forget 6 months behind. Their things drag on for years and years, and there are still various other projects that haven't been fulfilled. They have a lot of negative history on how well their Kickstarter campaigns go, and yet enough successful deliveries that people still keep backing them. I don't think it's a pure loss. I don't think you're not going to get your stuff. I just think it's going to be a bumpy road, and their games so far have not been well loved enough for me to jump in on any of those things. What's interesting is, despite the fact that their games tend to be well liked while not being loved, the value seems to be held. It doesn't really go up in value, but I would say most of their recent Kickstarters, from the ones that have been delivering, you can kind of get your money back. You're not going to make any big bucks. Maybe you'll lose on shipping, but it's not. I wouldn't call it a safe bet, but nor would I call it a big risk. Worst case scenario, you're probably out the cost of shipping if you don't like it, but it's an interesting company. It's one that has a ton of trouble historically with the Kickstarter games. I was very tempted by their last one. I can't remember. It's the PlayStation game that they made a PlayStation game into a video game they made a video game into the board game. I cannot for the life of me remember the title right now, but I was very tempted by that one from there. I'm blanking on this. Either way, I was very tempted by that one and passed on it reluctantly, but everything else they've put out hasn't been personally appealing. But again, value-wise, you're talking middle of the road. It's probably safe, but not a guarantee. Next up, we have an interesting one. This is a Pig Back from Hell. This is by Devil Pig Games, and this is kind of a, save the publisher and get new gameplay upgrades. This is not the first time they've done something like this, but the reason I included it is because I really like what they're doing. They are a company that has games that they still need to fulfill, and rather than walking away, rather than placing blame, rather than just letting life happen, what they've done twice now is they've run new Kickstarters to put out cheap and easy content that is both a reward to the backers as well as gives them money. So they kind of do that hybrid of, let's stay alive, let's make sure everyone gets what they want, let's keep the company going, but at the same time give people a reward for that process. I really respect it. I personally will not be backing because I haven't actually played. Heroes of Normandy is one that has always been on my interest list, but not one that I've actually ever tried. If I should be playing it, let me know in the comments down below. As a heads up, I do not like Memoir 44. I do like V Commandos. I don't know if this has anything to do with... Rivet Wars I enjoyed but didn't love. So if you think I should be trying Heroes of Normandy, let me know in the comments down below. It is one that has always been interesting to me, but because I haven't tried it, because I don't have it in my collection, I will not be backing this. But by all means, take a look. I want to spread the word because I really respect what they're doing. I really respect how they're trying to stay alive, make sure everything gets fulfilled, make sure the backers aren't left hanging, but also not asking for a handout in the process. I really like that, and I wish them all the best. Next up, we have Steampunk Rally Fusion by Roxley Games. Now, this is almost certainly okay, well, let me take a step back. Steampunk Rally is a game that I personally played. I liked it. I didn't love it. I felt there was way too much. It was way too much of a solo game, and while many games are like that, it was just a lot of fiddliness and being involved in your own board, and then looking up, and for all you know, people cheated left, right, and center. Now, I'm not saying the problem is I don't trust my friends. I do. It just very much felt like I was in my own world doing my own thing and had very little to do with the other players. Yes, there's a drafting, but it didn't. I really liked it. In fact, I traded it, got it back, and then got rid of it again. It was a good game, a game that I enjoyed, a game I would happily sit down and play with you, but it just wasn't the same tier as for what I'm currently looking for in my collection. Now, that disclaimer aside, Roxley Games tend to do pretty well. Roxley produces beautiful games. Now, Steampunk Rally is a beautiful game, and they've taken Steampunk Rally Fusion, and it manages to look prettier, which I don't know how they do that, because I thought the last one, look at these two boxes. This looks amazing. This looks amazinger. If you look at the art of the characters, the old characters look amazing. The new characters look amazinger. The dice, they have these hybrid colored dice. They just took a well-produced, incredible-looking game and made it more well-produced and incredibly looking-er. And I know those aren't words, by the way. Just saying that. But anyways, so I'm not personally backing it because and to give an update, this is not an expansion. This can be combined. It's a standalone game, but it can be combined with the original for the ultimate racing experience. But it is a game that I will not personally be backing because I didn't like the original enough. Again, I still liked it, But as far as the value proposition, Roxley Games manages to do a pretty good job of giving you just enough extras in their Kickstarter that there's a reason to back, while at the same time not doing so much that people can be upset about losing the optimal experience, like a Command game. Command games have so much content that if you don't get it, you're kind of really missing out. Versus a Roxley game, you're really not missing out that much if you don't get their Kickstarters. So let's come to the value proposition. $55 US for this, about $56, $55 for this game right now, plus shipping, of course. And so it is simultaneously a decent buy, but not an amazing buy. Now, what I mean by that is if you wait for retail, you will probably be able to pick it up for closer to $35, $40 on a regular basis. You will not, and without the shipping costs, if you get free shipping from wherever you go, and you're going to be getting most of what you want out of this game. But the flip side is, from a value proposition, there will probably be people who are willing to pay your cost and shipping and everything to get the game. Meaning, I do think it's a safe bet from a stance of, it's already a well-liked game, and it's a second edition with cool, pretty stuff. I think it's probably a safe bet if you get it, don't like it, and want to sell it. At the same time, if you don't actually care that much about the extras, wait for retail. You'll get 98% of the experience without the extras. By the way, if I'm wrong with this, I made sure to scroll through, I made sure to get all the stuff, but if I'm wrong about how many extras there are, if they change it, let me know. I'll definitely update that. But from what I saw, it's only a few extras, nothing crazy. Next up, we have Guards of Atlantis. Guards of Atlantis, I did a whole other Kickstarter video on already. I will link to that up above. But short version is, Board Game Barrage, Seal of Metal Excellence. I don't know if they, I didn't see that before, but I'll have to watch that video. But anyways, Guards of Atlantis is a game that I already love. I am already in. The short version is, I think this is a safe bet. I think this is one that you will be able to get your money back. This very much falls in the category, similar to the Hunters, this very much falls into the category of a game that is loved by the people who like it and has a small enough audience that their games are hard to get. You can't really get their copies of their games that easily. If you search for Guards of Atlantis, you basically have to pay whatever people are asking because there's not a lot of people selling it. So it's a game, and this is a reprinted edition with refined rules and a better rule set. Again, I covered it much more in detail. I'll link to that above. But short version of this is, I think it's a safe bet. If you're trying it for yourself, you might want to try just the core set at $59. Alternatively, I think it's worth going all in at $149. And yes, I think you will see your money back. In fact, I think you can probably get the extras, the $149 thing, and there's a decent chance you'll be able to sell just the hero packs for what you paid and get the core box free. It's not a guarantee by any means, but a decent chance. Meaning this is a well-loved game, but not a ton of people. So those that want this stuff after the fact will have to pay what the market asks. So I that does work well in your favor as someone who's potentially back in the game, but it still involves making a risk, taking a bit of a risk now. So that's the short version. It's a little more complicated, but you can watch that video. Next, we have Dodos Rising. Dodos Riding Dinos, sorry. Dodos Riding Dinos looks adorable, honestly. I mean, this is from the same people who did Chicken something, or they've done some other cute games, but basically this is it looks like a kid's game. I don't know if it's meant to be a kid's game. It says age 8+, but it looks like a cute little /dexterity/racing, a cute little interesting experience. And it has cute little miniatures. It looks very well produced. I am definitely interested in it. The problem is I am not interested in it at $59, unfortunately. I don't think this is the kind of experience that I would get $59 plus shipping out of it. So I'm passing on it. I find these games fall very much in the category of slide quests, doodle quests, games like that. And while interesting and while appealing, none of these have really been games that stuck with me. So I will be passing on it. As far as whether it's a good buy or not, I don't really know. This was a bit of a harder one for me to judge. Their games aren't that frequently available. It's possible if you back it that you'll have someone who really wants it and they're not that common, not that easy to get a hold of. But I don't have a strong opinion on this one, and I didn't look enough into their other games to really judge that. But I can tell you the other games are not frequently available, but nor are they particularly well sought after. So it's this interesting middle ground of both. Yeah, it's an interesting middle ground. And finally, last on the list, we have Dale of Merchants. Dale of Merchants is a game I really enjoy. In fact, it's right next to me on the shelf over here. And I just dropped the game. But Dale of Merchants over here, I have Dale of Merchants 1. I have Dale of Merchants 2. I do not have the collection, the big box collection. If you want to trade it to me, go ahead and ping me and message me or something because I want the collection box. but I haven't gotten that, or Dale of Merchants 3 is now on Kickstarter. I like the game. I encourage you to try Dale of Merchants 1, 2, and 3. I encourage you to give it a shot. I will definitely be getting this eventually. I will not be getting the Kickstarter, and that's because of the value proposition. At $21 plus shipping to get this, I don't think it's a bad price. I don't think it's crazy. I don't think anything, ridiculous, but at the same time, this is a game that you can readily get for like the $10 to $12 range after the fact. And I already haven't played with most of the animals I already have. It's a cute, light deck building game. I really do encourage you checking it out. I just don't think that for me it's really... And again, it feels a little nitpicky to talk about saving $5, $6 on this compared to backing these $300 Kickstarters. But at the end of the day, I try to take a stance of, if I don't believe something is a good buy, I tend to not buy it. I do let myself occasionally make bad decisions for the sake of splurging, but I really try to take a stance of, I want to be thrifty, I want to save money, and that's true whether I'm buying something I'm saving $6 on, or evaluating whether I'm saving $50 on. If you're not that person, if you're like, what the heck, I just want to get this game sooner and who cares about the $6, go for it. That's totally fine. If I was lacking in Dale of Merchants content, I would also do that. But I am not lacking in Dale of Merchants content, and so I'm going to save the $6 and pass on it for right now. That's the roundup for today. As usual, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it informative. Which of these games are you backing? Are you in on Frosthaven? Are you part of that record, 13 million, or just shy of 13 million? I kind of wish it had hit 13 million. That would have been nice. And anyways, I'm Alex from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed. You can subscribe down below, ring the bell for notifications, comment, like, share this video with a friend. If you know any friends who have a Kickstarter addiction and they need to figure out what they should and shouldn't back, share this video with them. Share my channel and whatnot. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex. Have a good one and keep playing games.